No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today we have a very legendary interview going down. Charlie.
That makes me feel good. You saying legendary like that?
I think it's pretty legendary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that way as well.
You feel legendary just being here?
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, yeah, wow. When they said, yeah, you can go and do the No Jumper podcast, I was like, what? Get me there now.
Really? You didn't think you had it in you?
No, I knew I had it in me. Built for it. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, get me there now.
Yeah, definitely. No, man, I'm excited to have you here. I feel like you're one of those people in the rap game that like people see and it's like you've always existed. Like they've just been used to seeing your content since they were reasonably pretty young because you've been grinding for a long ass time. But I don't know, myself personally even, I don't know that much about the early story. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. Where are you from exactly?
Camden Town in London, northwest London.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your upbringing like?
I grew up on a council estate.
Okay.
Which is like, I guess, the projects.
The projects.
For you guys over here.
The roads.
The roads. The hood.
The hood, right.
Yeah, so.
That's what we said.
Yeah, where I grew up, at the time when I was growing up, I had the highest crime rate in the whole country. So
really?
It was pretty crazy. Like where I was, the estate was right between Euston Station and King's Cross Station, which are like two of the main transport stations into London.
Okay.
And then so the drugs were coming in from Euston, and then in King's Cross you had all the junkies, and like, it was a crazy prostitution problem. So like as a kid, I'd walk into the flats and there'd be like needles on the floor, people like gurning, like asleep on the stairs, like junkies.
And so it was like Top Boy, where they just recruited you to be a drug salesman right away?
Nah. I would, you know, I was always too smart for that. Okay. I always had bigger ambitions.
Really?
Yeah.
But was it tempting? Was it like right there? Like this is the easy way out? I could just get in the streets?
For sure. You know, a lot of my people, my peers, they took that option. But for me, I always believed I was destined for more.
Really?
Yeah.
What were your parents like? Were they good influence?
Yeah, to be fair, I've got great parents. My mum, at the time when we was growing up, she was a cleaner. She used to clean all the rich folks' houses.
Okay.
And my dad was in construction.
Nice.
Like he was an electrician.
Nice working class upbringing.
Yeah, working class upbringing. And to be fair, they were good parents. My dad was super strict, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, very fair. And my mum was just very doting on me. Like she always tried to push me to be better.
Right. Interesting. Okay. And so you say that you thought that you had more to offer. Like, how did you start your hustle, your early days? Like, how did this start to manifest itself?
I mean, from a young age, really. I mean, I first started hustling when I was 11, when I went to like high school.
Really?
So I used to have a packed lunch that I'd take to school. Couldn't really afford the school dinners.
Right.
Didn't have money like that. So on my first day at school, I sold my packed lunch. I sold the sandwiches. I sold the crisps. Sold my drink. And I was like, okay, there's an opportunity here.
Right.
I can make some money.
A lot of successful people's stories start with hustling candy as a kid.
Yeah. And that's where it started for me. From there, I spent that money that I made for sandwiches on buying more loaves of bread, like some ham, some chicken slices, lettuce, salad cream.
All of a sudden, you're the sandwich man.
I was the man. My sandwiches were killer, bro. Some salami, my sandwiches hit different.
And this is elementary school?
Yeah, so I'm 11 at the time. And then from there, I started selling cigarettes.
Wow.
So I buy a pack of cigarettes, and I sold the cigarettes for £1 each. You know, I'd be making like £40 a day.
Wow. At
school, being like 13. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then at the same time, that's when my real love for music started to blossom, and I was DJing. By the time I was 14, I was DJing in clubs in the UK, pretending I was 18. So yeah, I mean, they kind of went hand in hand.
And you never had the temptation of like, oh, I'm selling cigarettes and the profit margins are whatever, I could be selling other stuff and making more. No,
I mean,
never
like
tempted.
I said, you know, a lot of my close friends and people around me went down that path, and I saw the negative connotations that were attached to that.
For sure.
And I was never too scared to be like, I ain't doing it. It ain't for me.
What was the sound of you know, your upbringing? Like when you think about that whole time period when you're in, you know, when you're 14, DJing these clubs and stuff, what kind of records are going crazy?
It was like, for me, it was very British-esque music. So it was the likes of like Skinny Man, Task Force, like very early days British rap, Rodney P, Ty. Like these are the guys that when I was that age were like my peers, the people that I looked up to.
Okay.
You know, and I'd be out and see them. So from a very young age, I was kind of ingrained in that community. They'd always see me, that I'm like, this little fat white kid is crazy. Like he's just turning up everywhere.
You were just bold and not afraid to go into these environments.
Nah, I didn't care. And I was from that environment.
Right.
So for me, it was normal. I wasn't stepping into something that was uncomfortable for me.
Right.
That was what I knew. You know what I mean? So I wasn't uncomfortable being in places that some folk might find a little bit uncomfortable.
Right. And so if you had to identify like who you were looking up to at that point, who were you looking at as like kind of a, an inspiration or a mentor? Like by the time I watched like your introductory interview with Westwood, and I just wonder like to what extent you were looking at him or other people in the culture who you were thinking like maybe I could be like them.
Westwood was definitely one of them people for sure.
But like you saw yourself having like sort of an overall media presence, like being on the radio and shit?
I wasn't sure what it was. Like my passion for music was just there, and I was willing to accept any role within the music industry that I could get. Like my first ever real experience with rap music came from, so I got sent home from school one day, and I had to go to work with my mom. And she was cleaning this rich lady's house in Primrose Hill, which is like a really expensive part of London.
Right.
And so she's like, yo, sit down, don't touch anything, and I'll be done in like an hour. So I'm sat in the kitchen in this house, beautiful big house, and I've always been inquisitive, So I had a little snoop around, started looking around, and there was this big, massive cassette rack in the kitchen. And I must have been like 7 or 8 at the time. I was young. And I'm going through the cassettes. And in my house, music was always playing.
Right.
Always growing up. Like my dad, it ranged from listening to like John Holt to the Beatles.
Okay.
Like a real eclectic mix of music. So anyway, I'm going through the cassettes and I pull this one cassette out and I look at the front cover and there's these guys peering over and there's this big red font. And I'm like, yo, what's this? And I flip the cassette over and I start reading the track list. I'm like, whoa, what's this? So I borrowed the cassette. I want to make it very clear that I didn't steal the cassette.
From the rich benefactor that was paying your mom's bills.
Exactly. So I borrowed the cassette. I had full intentions of returning this cassette.
Right.
I put it in my pocket. I went home that evening and I used to have this cassette player, which I think my dad borrowed from a building site because it was just covered in paint. The cassette door was broke off. I had to put tape on the front of it to be able to listen to the cassettes. So I put the cassette in, lick over the tape, and then press play. And I'm like, whoa, what is this shit?
Right.
And it was NWA straight out of Compton.
Ooh, yeah.
So I listened to that tape religiously. Like that was my life. And it was almost like I had like a private connection with it because I knew if my dad heard me listening to that with the expletives in that record, he would be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
So I was like under the cover, listening to it when I can, got a Walkman, was listening to it on the way to school. I knew every single bar word for word.
Right.
Like I thought I was the man. And then from there it was like, yo, like I just had this mad, I don't know, I felt like a connection to it. Even though I didn't fully understand it at the time, there was like a certain anarchy.
There's so much to decode about it.
Yeah.
There's so much to understand that is just inherently foreign to you at that age.
Yeah, but it felt like, right, like, I get this.
It's like a gateway into manhood in a way.
That's what it was for me.
Yeah.
Like trying to understand myself at that time, understand where I am growing up, seeing stuff on TV that didn't really resonate with me and where I was from.
Because you can't really understand where you're from in London until you start to understand other places so that you can understand why where you're from is unique.
Yeah. And why it makes you who you are.
Exactly,
I truly believe you're a product of your environment. And like, some people get caught up in that and stay a part of their environment. And some people use that as a hunger and a desire to be better and understand more.
100%.
Yeah.
So by the time you're DJing clubs when you're 14 and stuff, is this actually making you money? Are you actually doing well?
I'm earning like £50 a show.
Okay.
And then, I started doing pirate radio, which is, a massive part of my journey as well. Where
that was huge. That was huge in Europe, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
Pirate radio was huge, and I started doing a radio show on Raw FM, which was like the proper hood station. And it was like the radio stations would be in lift shafts at the top of a tower block. Or like in the old, like a trap house, like where it's just like wild in there. And so like, it was like super illegal. So at the time I was young, going and doing these shows, and you have to pay to be on the radio, you have to pay subs.
Right.
So you used to pay like £10 a show. And then by the time I was like 17, maybe 18, I was doing 7 different shows on 7 different pirate radio stations a week.
Wow.
Yeah, like just really just trying to get out there.
Doesn't the fact that that was illegal seem so hilarious now in the age of the internet?
And how serious they took it as well.
Yeah.
How, like, you know, the police will come through the door.
Right.
And they take everything. They take your radio, your equipment, your records. It was wild. You get a mad fine. You didn't pay the fine, you go to prison.
Right.
When you think about it now, it's like, what? Crazy.
Yeah. The internet has made everything so easy,
Oh, yeah.
but at the same time kind of remove some of the allure of stuff like that. When you look back on that, it's like, I mean, it has the word pirate in it, so
It was
says
crazy.
a lot.
Great days.
Definitely. So, okay, where do you go through there as you're kind of like getting out of high school and shit?
So then at that point, I'm thinking, raw, DJs don't get no heat. DJs, they ain't getting no love and they ain't making no money. So I'm gonna be a rapper.
Ah, okay. I was wondering if that was going to be part of the story.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a rapper. So then I started trying to rap. And obviously a lot of people around me at the time, I knew a lot of these guys. You know, like I said, from a kid, I was going to these events and putting up to studio sessions. So I knew a lot of these guys. So I thought, this is easy for me. Let me just start rapping. So I did that. I was pretty shit, to be fair. I weren't great at all. And at the time I thought I was the man. I was like, I'm so sick.
Right.
But then listening to other people at the time who were from the same generation of me, who have gone on to be like superstars in the UK, I was like, nah, like these guys can really, really rap.
Right.
So I'm not even gonna waste my time.
So did you ever like even get down to like recording and stuff?
Yeah, I made some records, and you know, I put records out, and I had some success with it, to be fair. I had some success with it, but I was a realist at the time, and I thought this is not my big picture.
Right. So you figured out that wasn't gonna work.
Yeah. So I started producing.
Ah, okay.
Then I started producing records for artists. I made loads of records for different artists. And then I come to a point in my career where I had spent 2-3 years self-educating myself on all aspects of new media. So I taught myself how to edit on Final Cut Pro. I was using Logic. I knew how to edit audio on
So this
Logic.
is very deliberate. You're like, I'm gonna learn all sides of this.
I want to be a
game.
beast. I want to be a monster. I taught myself how to use After Effects. You know, I was coding on Dreamweaver. Just all aspects of new media. I just took time out myself and educated myself.
That's amazing because most people will like learn one trick. They'll learn to shoot a music video, or they'll learn to make a beat, and then they just grind that skill set for the next 30 years.
Yeah, nah. I was all about self-progression and just being the best. And at the time, so then obviously I spent a lot of time teaching myself how to edit. So then I started editing, and I was editing for big brands. I was doing stuff for like a big radio station, Kiss FM, Adidas. I was like doing good content, which was giving me a little bit of money to get by.
Right.
And then it got to the point where I'd educated myself on all these aspects of new media. I was still immersed in the culture and the industry, but I weren't really getting a break, and no one was really taking me seriously. So at the time, I sat down with a guy who's still part of my team now, Ara. He used to run Jump Off, which was like the biggest rap event in the UK, and I was actually editing for him. That's how we met.
Okay.
And he actually come round. So I was living in a shed at this point.
A shed.
A shed.
Like behind somebody else's house in the backyard?
Yeah, I was living in a shed, had no sanitation, no toilet, and my first son had just been born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so for me it was like, yo, this is pretty deep. You know, like I weren't in a good space financially at all.
It's like, I love the culture, but at a certain point, if it's going to mean that I'm living in a shed and not able to take care of my kid, maybe I'm going to have to forget about that.
And you know what, I was at that point, you know, where the mother of my child was like, yo, like this is not cool. Like we haven't even got a shower. Like we have to go to other people's houses to get a shower. Right. And for me, I'm like, I'm not giving up. Like I'm so close. I know I can feel it. She's like, whoa. Her parents would come round and be embarrassed. And they'd be like, what are you doing with this bum? You know what I mean? Like, who is this bum?
How'd that make you feel?
At the time, obviously mad upset and frustrated and a little bit frustrated with myself. Like, am I deluded?
Yeah.
Like, should I really be doing this? Am I selfish? Am I chasing a dream to fulfill my insecurities and pamper my ego? Or is this something that I can really achieve? And this was the same time when Ara had come round to where I was living, my shed, and I was editing, and he's like, yo, you're fired. And I'm like, what? I'm fired? Why am I fired? What have I done wrong? How are you gonna fire me? And he's like, you're too good to be an editor. You need to take this stuff seriously, and I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna manage you. But you gotta do it right, you gotta do it proper. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. So then we came up with this show called Being Charlie Sloth. At the time, YouTube was very fresh. YouTube was just starting out.
And what year are we talking?
This is like 2007, 8.
Right when you started to be able to monetize a bit?
Yeah. So YouTube was still very fresh. People didn't really understand how to use it. And at the time, vlogs were massive. Every rapper in the UK was doing a vlog.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm not doing that shit.
This is like the era where Joe Budden vlogging his relationship was starting to kind of take off in America.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because I used to love Budden.
Right.
I used to love, like, not so much that side of him, but his like the Mood music series.
Yeah.
At that time in my life, that was my shit.
Right.
So watching him make that transition, it was around that same time. And I was like, I don't want to do that. For me at the time, I was like, that's hella corny.
Right.
I'm not talking into the camera, talking about what I've been doing, and I didn't feel like it represented me.
Right.
So we was like, all right, how can we do something that showcases all the different aspects of Charlie Sloth?
Right.
So we came up with a show called Being Charlie Sloth. And so the idea of it, the concept was that I'd play 8 different characters in the show, which reflected the different hats that I wore as a human being. So there was the manager, there was the artist, there was the street team, there was the editor, there was the director, there was the web designer, and I played each character myself and kind of played into a stereotype personality of what I felt that person was.
Right.
So like the web designer was very geeky, wore glasses, like very straight. Like the manager was very like outlandish, loud.
Now, at this time, did you think about just doing straight up vlogs about what your life was like? Because when I watch your vlogs now, it's just very literal. Like, I am here, I'm getting on this plane, and I'm going to joke around with the camera and talk to you and shit. But at that time, did you feel like you needed this hook?
I knew I needed something, but I didn't know what it was. And at that time, I didn't want to do anything like that.
Right.
I wasn't at that place in my life. What am I going to show? Me living in a shed.
Your life now is pretty interesting.
It's very
You're
interesting.
in fucking Dubai and shit. At that time, it's maybe not as interesting. Maybe you need a hook.
I was living in a shed, and I was in that shed 18 hours a day working.
Yeah.
It wasn't interesting at all.
Right.
So then we done Being Charlie Sloth. I spent a month on the first episode. Like, I wrote it myself, filmed it all myself, edited it myself, and it was, at the time, it was quite cool because there'd be multiple characters on the screen that was all played by me.
Right.
So I'd be on the screen 4 times at the same time, like having conversations with myself. It was a bit nuts. People were like, "You at Charlie?" It was a bit weird at the time. It was quite ahead of itself in that sense. I put the first episode out on YouTube, and it done like 4,000 views, 5,000 views. But bear in mind that I just spent like a month on this, working 7 days a week, 18 hours a day to get it right.
Wow.
So I felt quite deflated. And I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work.
Right.
If I'm spending all this time making Being Charlie Sloth, I'm not making no money, having no time to do anything else, ain't really gonna work. So it got to the point where I was gonna bin it off after 1 episode. And then the next day after having this conversation, Q from World Star Hip Hop, RIP, gets in touch.
Right.
And he's like, yo, like, I never heard of you.
After the first episode, he got in touch.
Episode.
Wow.
He's like, I never heard of you, but I just stumbled across this video on YouTube, and it's mind-blowing. We want to make it exclusive on World Star Hip Hop.
Wow.
I'm like, what?
What a stroke of luck that he saw
Crazy.
it. That's nuts.
Nuts. So he was like, how often can you deliver this? I was like, I can do it weekly. Bearing in mind, it's just taking me a month to deliver the first episode.
Right.
So he's like, all right, let's do it. We'll put it out every week, every Monday. And I was like, all right, cool. So from there, Being Charlie Sloth had this opportunity to be on the biggest hip hop platform in the world.
That for the most part doesn't touch English culture at all, from what I can remember.
They didn't do nothing whatsoever. So then we delivered Being Charlie Sloth for 67 weeks every Monday religiously.
Right.
And it was doing mad traffic on there. Like, it was doing 1 million, 2 million views.
Wow.
Like, American artists, when they was coming to the UK, they'd be like, yo, where's Charlie? You know what I'm saying? Like, I started building a network globally, and I was getting more love from the States at that time than I was in the UK. People still weren't really putting respect on my name or paying me any attention or giving me any opportunities.
Well, it's hard to get respect from where you're from, right?
Yeah, very.
You think?
Very.
'Cause they all saw your come up.
Yeah. And it's not until other people start putting respect on your name that other people are like, nah, that's my guy, you know. I always knew he was gonna make it.
You saw a lot of that?
Oh, I still see it.
Yeah.
I still see it today.
Right.
So Yeah, it ran on World Star, and then from there, you know, in the UK, everyone within a year knew who I was.
Okay.
And they was like, yo, this that guy that plays 7 different characters and is at every party in the UK. And then at that time, the BBC approached me. And they was like, yo, we've seen what you've done. It's incredible. It's groundbreaking.
Right.
We want you to cover some shows. So there's another guy in the UK called Semtex, big DJ.
Love Semtex.
Love Semtex.
Great guy.
What a great guy.
Yeah.
Got nothing but love and respect for him.
Yeah.
And at the time, he was going on tour with Dizzy Rascal.
Right. Another great guy.
Another great guy.
Who I also got to interview. It was a great honor.
Yeah, great guy. Very great guy. And he was going on tour. So Semtex was his DJ at the time. And Semtex had to take some time off from his BBC show. So Semtex was like, yo, Charlie Sloth has to cover me. And for me, that is testament to him as a character. You know, he wasn't ever threatened by me or what I could potentially bring to the table. He just felt that I was contributing to the culture and doing something exciting.
Right.
And I got nothing but respect and admiration for that. And he's always been like that. He's very selfless in that sense. He puts the culture, especially in the UK, before himself.
Right.
And I love that shit. So I ended up covering his show on the BBC. We covered it for 6 weeks. And then it was like, yeah, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. Because obviously that was like it was almost like full circle for me at that point. You know, I'd spent all this time doing all this other stuff, and then I got this opportunity to be on the radio, do something that I felt like I was incredible at.
Did you feel like you killed it?
I killed it. I killed it.
Did you outshine the master, though?
I think we're very different offerings.
48 laws of power that tell you not to outshine the master.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel like we're very different in that sense.
Okay.
So it's not even a comparison in terms of what we do. So a few weeks passed, and I'd actually just signed a massive deal out here with a big film company to bring Charlie Sloth to the States.
Oh, wow.
And it was a very big deal. Like, it was lucrative. At that point in my life, financially, it could have been very life-changing for me. Now, in hindsight,
nothing.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was a considerable amount of money which could really change things for myself and my family.
Right.
So we had all geared up, me and my team at the time, and my family, to come here.
Big move. Big move.
Big move.
And
we was going through the process of me getting an O1 to facilitate that, so I could come over here and do that, which is a visa which enables me to work here.
In itself is a big thing.
It's a big thing. Yeah. And then during that time of being ready to make that transition, the BBC hit me up.
Right.
And they was like, yo, like, we want to offer you your own show. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And at the time, they offered it to me and Wretch 32, who's like one of the biggest rappers ever in the UK. Because he was doing the show with me covering Semtex.
Right.
And so I called Wretch, and he's like, yo, this is a crazy opportunity. And I'm saying to him, yeah, I've got this other opportunity. So I'm not too sure, but it's a great look. We could smash this. We could kill this. Because
contextualize for the Americans out there that being on the BBC for a kid like you would be like the biggest thing you could pretty much do in that.
The biggest thing, like the BBC is a national network.
You're just internationally famous as fuck.
Straight away, the minute you're on the BBC, you're broadcasting to the whole country.
Yeah. So
it's like over here you'd have radios that broadcast to different states.
Right.
In the UK, we have that as well, but then we have the BBC, which broadcasts to the whole country.
Right. It's the ultimate cosign.
It's the ultimate cosign. So me and Wretch was like, yeah, we'll kill this. We should do it. Bearing in mind, I've not even had this conversation with my team at this point. I've not even spoke to them. Like, we're going to LA.
Right.
We're doing Being Charlie Sloth. That's the plan. So me and Wretch speak. He's like, yeah, all right, cool, let's do it. 3 days later, Wretch rings me late at night. He's like, bro, I've thought about this. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna stick to the music. I'm gonna concentrate on the music. I don't think the radio thing's for me. I think my picture's a little bit bigger than that.
Wow.
And I hope it don't mess up your situation, but I've got to think about myself in this situation. I was like, bro, I totally get it. I respect it. I understand it. The next day, the BBC rang me. They was like, yeah, we don't really think it will work with just you, kind of thing. But thanks. And I was like, nah, cool, man. I appreciate it. And then
you didn't care because you already had this other opportunity?
I'm out of it. Like, it's cool. I didn't even think about it after that. And then a few days later, Rebecca Frank who was the lady who made the call at the BBC, she was like, I've convinced the bosses for you to do it on your own. You'll kill it. And then again, I'm thinking, I'm not sure, man. Can I have 24 hours? Give me 24 hours and I'll come back. Inside, I'm buzzing. I'm super excited. But now I've got this choice to make, this real big life decision to make. Do I follow the bag and do something that I really enjoy doing, the being Charlie Sloth stuff?
Right.
Had more of a comedic element to it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't what I was trying to do. It weren't where my passion was. Or do I take this job with the BBC, which was a graveyard set? It was like 1 to 4 in the morning on a Friday.
So that kind of changes it too.
Yeah,
huh?
it's the shittest show you can really get.
It's cool, but it's also kind of low on the totem
It's a
pole,
look, but you're right. You're at the bottom of the food chain, and you earning £100 a show,
right,
once a week. So ultimately, £400 a month, which is nothing.
Yeah.
Especially in comparison to what's on the table.
Okay.
For me to do this being Charlie Sloth stuff.
So the show seems like a much better opportunity.
For sure. It's a no-brainer. So then I'm thinking to myself, okay, like the radio thing, the DJing thing has been a massive passion of mine for years. But where can I take it? What can I do with it? And then I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I was like, I know that if I walk into that building, into the BBC, I'm gonna crush it. I'm gonna take over in a few years. There's no doubt in my mind that if I go in there, I'll kill it. And I'll be able to do something for the UK scene that nobody's ever done or nobody's even tried to do. Because at the time, you know, Westwood was the guy. He didn't really care about the UK artists, UK rappers. He'd give them little looks here and there, but his focus was American rap. And he was the king of that, you know? And he'd been doing that for such a long time. That's what he knew.
Right.
And that's not no shade on him or disrespect to him whatsoever. That's just what he knew. He weren't really ingrained in the UK scene like that.
Did your decision have a lot to do with the fact that you could tell that there was a lot of UK artists that were really bubbling up, and that there was going to be a shitload of homegrown superstars?
Exactly that. These guys were my friends.
Right.
These are the people that I was going out and partying with and chilling with and spending time in the studio with. These are people that I considered family, some of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? I know if I take that job, I'm going to kill it. And I'll be the biggest DJ in the country. And I'll be able to influence the culture to be able to give these guys opportunities they've never had. These guys will start earning money and they'll be able to make a career of it. And for me, that was the most exciting thing.
Right.
And I made the decision, it must have been about 2, 3 in the morning. And I was like, yo, I couldn't sleep after I confirmed it in my mind that that's what I was gonna do. I couldn't sleep. And then I'd already signed a deal here. Paperwork had been done. So I call my team, I'm like, yo, I'm not going to LA. And we're literally about to leave to LA. What are we talking about? I was like, I'm not going to LA. Why are you not going to LA? I've just decided to join the BBC. To do what? To be a DJ and do the graveyard shift 1 to 4 in the morning. And then you can imagine the conversation. You fucking fat piece of shit. You haven't got an idea what you're doing.
Really? They were that against it?
Of course. Like £100 a show. What are you talking about? What are you doing? This ain't gonna work. This is not happening. Anyway, I made that decision, stuck to the decision, had quite a few issues that I had to tidy up in terms of the deal that I just signed. Thankfully, after a few conversations with them on the phone, they understood, and they probably thought I was crazy, but they understood and respected it. So I joined the BBC. I remember going in, and the boss at the time, there was 2 bosses sat there in the office. So it's like, welcome, Charles, to the BBC. What are your aspirations while you're here? And I was like, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find a booth, which is a online freestyle platform that will live on YouTube, that will do millions of views. And I was like, that's terrific, this is radio. And I was like, yeah. And it's like, okay, what else? I was like, I'm going to replace Tim Westwood on every single one of his shows in 5 years. And they laughed. They clearly looked at me and laughed in my face. I said, why are you laughing for? And they was like, do you know how many times we've heard that? And I was like, you've never heard it from me. I was like, 5 years, and I'll take every single one of his jobs. And that interview you just spoke about, I'd literally just walked out of that meeting with the bosses into the studio with Westwood
Wow.
to say, yo, yeah, I'm coming for your shit.
Because his energy in that, I mean, there's a whole little weird alpha male struggle going on in that where it very much feels like he's trying to kind of put you in your place. And I wasn't sure how much of that was a work, like how much of that
that was super real. Like,
that was real. Okay.
There's always been, like, I've got nothing but respect and admiration for Tim Westwood for what he's done for music, especially in the UK.
Right.
Nothing, but, and I'd never say a bad word about him, but he's always felt a certain way about me.
Really?
Because I just say how it is. I told him to his face. I'm not gonna go in the office and say that I'm coming to take my man's jobs and not tell him to his face. I looked him in his eyes. I said, my guy, I'm gonna take all of your jobs.
Right.
He's like, Joe, get out of my studio. You ain't taking shit away.
Right.
So anyway.
But you're surprised that he has a grudge against you when you come up to him saying stuff like that?
No,
like
but
that?
if it was me, I'd respect it.
Yeah, maybe a little
100%.
bit.
No, I respect it. If a young buck come into my studio and is like, Sloth, I'm coming for your spot, I'd be like, my guy, I will help you. I will help you. I ain't trying to be that guy who's 60, 50, doing that shit.
Right.
I'm just not. Like, I'm trying to evolve. I ain't trying to stand still. I'm never looking to stand still.
Do you think Westwood's been holding on to this gig for too long?
That's his vision. That's his passion. I'm not here to judge someone else's belief and ambition in life.
Right.
That's just not mine. If that's yours, that's fine. That's fine. But don't then try and put someone else down because they have a different view.
Okay.
Or they have different aspirations.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, especially if it's a young buck. Like, you've been doing this, like, really and truly, he should have been like, yo, if he was smart, he would have turned around and be like, yo, I see you're a problem. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna manage you.
Right.
Because I've got all the relationships, I've got the network in place. I'm gonna take 20% of everything you earn and I'm gonna control everything you do.
And if he had said that, what would you
I
have
would have
said?
been like, 100%, where do I sign? At that point in time, I would have been like, 100%, where do I sign?
Right.
Because then, when that time comes, he still gets to eat.
Right.
He still has a certain say on what's happening and what I'm doing. But he obviously didn't have that vision. He didn't see it the way that I saw it.
Right.
So I had that conversation with him. I told the bosses. And things just started happening really quickly in there. So firing a booth, started doing it, started doing crazy numbers.
So you actually had the control to start a whole new series like that and really start pushing
I
it.
had already had firing a booth before I joined the BBC.
And you gave them your intellectual property,
I
or
own that.
was that occurring to you?
No, so I owned it, and they didn't believe in it. So it was something that I brought to the table as a contractor.
Okay.
So I wasn't employed directly by the BBC. None of the DJs are. You're a contractor. So that was my IP. I had that IP before I joined the BBC.
Right.
It just didn't have the platform that is the BBC. So it was never going to grow in the same way.
Right.
So I started doing Find a Booth on the BBC. And at the time, it was me and my guy, Zach, like one of my good friends who I grew up with. He had a camera and I had a camera. So like he'd film like the wide and I'd film the close tight on the artist. And then every time he would turn the camera to me, I'd put the camera under the desk and pretend like I weren't filming to try and make it look a bit more high budget.
Wow, that's
Do you know
amazing.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So we started doing these Find the Booths. And then there was like a real significant moment, which was a massive moment in British culture, British rap culture, really changed everything.
Which one was that?
K Coke. So
Okay.
like he was an artist who was from Northwest London like me, was like killing it on the streets, was like the hottest rapper on the streets. Everyone knew about him. So I brought him up to do this Find the Booth, did the Find the Booth. Like at the time, it did like 2 million views in 2 weeks, which at that time in the UK, especially for rap artists, it was wild.
Yeah.
So everyone was talking about it. And then on the back of that, he got signed to Jay-Z. So Jay-Z saw it. He was like, yo, I want to sign this kid's the truth. And then from there, Find a Booth was just like, it was like the holy grail. If you wanted to pop in the UK, like, and you didn't do a Find a Booth and you was a rapper, you weren't really 30.
Right.
And so there was a period of time where Find a Booth was just that platform. So and me having a platform and being able to wear 2 different hats. So when I was doing the rap show, I was very serious, very on point with what I'm talking about because I'm serious about this.
Right.
But then in the daytime, I was able to take the piss out of myself, crack jokes, and like have banter with people.
Who influenced the sort of character that you take on when you're doing the fire in the booth thing with the bombs and it's
Do you know? I think it's a mixture of like I grew up with Westwood and Flex.
Right.
Like they were the
Flex is what I was thinking
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
they're 2 guys. And like when I'm in that moment. Like when I'm doing a Fire in the Booth, that's how I feel. I feel just like mad full of energy, and like it just like even to this day, like it's not like I'm going in there and I'm thinking to myself, all right, let me start shouting, let me start pressing sound effects. It's not that calculated. It was something that it was the way it made me feel.
Right.
Gassing, shouting. Like I've always been like that anyway. Like when I'm on the radio, very shouty, very animated. Like I try and bring the energy up in my tone of what I'm trying to do, just so I feel like people feel how I feel about the music.
Because somebody just rapping in a room is like really not that interesting. It's just how you contextualize it. Because when you're in there and you've got the bombs dropping and you're yelling and you got 10 different camera angles and shit, it's like, because we've messed around a little bit with like trying to figure out like, okay, what's our version of Fire in the Booth or whatever? Like, how do we make content out of somebody rapping? And there's a lot that goes into it once you start doing it and you realize, like, if you do one camera angle, it is fucking tough to pull it off.
Yeah.
You know, and like if you're going to be the person introducing to them, you can't just come in like a regular fucking square ass dude. You have to try to set the energy. Has that been like this gradual learning curve for you?
Do you know what? I think for me, it was always more about the ability to rap. I think even more so today, a lot of the younger artists haven't come through having to rap.
Yeah.
They're in the studio, drop me in.
The studio masks a lot of your lack of talent.
Massively.
Yeah.
And I feel like what is still so special about Fire in the Booth is you can't hide. You can either rap or you can't rap. And it's just, it's capturing that. It's capturing the essence, the nerves of the artist, the energy. Like you can feel it. If you're in the room and an artist comes in, straight away you can feel it. You can feel the energy, you can feel the anxiety. It's match day. Like if you're an athlete, it's match day, it's go time. Rap is a competitive sport. If you can't rap, don't step into the studio. Don't step in there feeling like you can say, Charlie, drop me in. I'm gonna say, fuck you.
You don't do that at all?
I mean, if it's a younger artist,
okay,
I'll try and help where I can help.
Right.
I always try and help because I understand how much pressure it is.
Right.
And I'm not trying to shut someone down who's not had the opportunity, especially in today's generation of artists. You know, like growing up, especially when in my time, you'd have people in the corner doing ciphers, rapping. Like man would be on the block rapping. That don't really happen in the same way.
And a guy like that who has that kind of experience could fuck up and keep it going and carry it.
Yeah.
And nowadays, a lot of times they might fuck up and be like, oh, hold on,
let me start again.
Start over, yeah.
But there's still artists of this generation that can do that.
Yeah.
There's still artists that I'm like, whoa, like you are a proper MC, a proper rapper. And that excites me. That's when you hear me start wilding,
them
crazy.
Being a popular rapper does not necessarily mean that you would be impressed by hearing them rap. So then when you are in the studio and you hear a rapper who's very popular and you realize how good they actually are in the recording process,
makes you respect them even more.
Yes, it's 100%. So many artists I could think of where when I saw them recording, I thought, wow, he is really talented. And I can also think of a bunch of artists who, when I saw them record, I was like, this is a facade.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
This is a joke.
You know what, and like we were talking about this yesterday. Like a lot of people are like, but you're gassed about everything. You're always shouting and pressing your explosions. All that means is the ones that were really shit you haven't seen, and there's loads. There's loads. Oh, there's loads. There's loads that I've never seen the light of day. There's loads. There's a lot of big artists from over here that have never seen the light of day.
Pissed off that they didn't come out. Like, do people get kind of bummed that they don't come out, or usually they on
some people
same
have.
page?
I think some people, once I've explained my thinking as the behind it, have been grateful that it didn't go out.
Right.
Because it was shit.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put it out, and I'm not going to be at the end of it being like, oh my God, you went in. That was wild, when you didn't.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Because then you're going to look fucking nuts.
Yeah, and people don't appreciate that either. I think, like, if they know that it's shit and I'm standing there telling them it's great, they're going to think this guy's a dickhead. They ain't going to respect me.
Because with you're having so many people on the platform that realistically a large percentage of the audience, even your subscribers, are not going to know who it is. That if you let the quality go to shit and the people lose faith that if they click on a random person whose name they don't know, that it's going to be at least decent, then all of a sudden you've kind of fucked up and corrupted the relationship with the audience, you know?
Yeah. It's tough, and it's a tough balance, because sometimes I'll think something's incredible, and the audience will be like, that was garbage.
Really?
That was absolute. There's been a few incidents where I thought that was fucking insane, and then the audience are like, dead. Fire in the Booth's finished. It's over. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's a hard balance because I'm not always right.
Right.
I'm not always right.
Do you ever have like popping artists that you want to get and they don't want to do it for whatever reason, and then you're kind of annoyed and frustrated with that, or is that
I don't
rarely?
get frustrated.
Okay.
You know, for me, like it's about the artist. Like I've never done Find a Booth thinking this is about me. Never. Like I genuinely care, and I've never put something to benefit myself over an artist. Like I get money outside of music. I could have retired 10 years ago, bro.
Really?
Like I'm in a good place financially. I have other things that make me good money, so I don't have to be doing that for money.
What kind of other stuff you got going on? Obviously, the DJing.
The biggest vodka, the top selling vodka in the UK.
This is huge.
Huge.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so like, you know, last year we turned over just shy of 40 million. This year we'll turn over 80 million. Like we outsold Ciroc by double in the UK.
Really?
Yeah. Last year we outsold Grey Goose, we outsold Belvedere, like a different planet.
How many partners are you with, or like?
There's 3 of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are there a lot of other people in the UK doing like their own alcohols and stuff?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
But you just managed to figure it out?
Oh yeah. Like we're like I said, we're the top selling premium vodka in the UK. We're the third top selling in Australia. Like we're all over Europe. We launch into the US in June.
Really?
This year.
So that's the big plan.
Yeah, a part of the plan.
What's the biggest stuff that helps marketing wise when you're doing alcohol? And is that your primary involvement? Is it the marketing?
A big part of it.
Okay.
Marketing and strategy.
Right.
And for me, it was just making it a part of the lifestyle.
Right.
The culture.
Because you're out in the clubs DJing all the time, so it's just a natural thing for you to be promoting.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that's for me, that's where the understanding of there being a hole in the market came from. It's like before that I had a vape business. So
really?
Yeah, you know, maybe 7 years ago now, when vaping was kind of new in the UK.
Right.
And you weren't allowed to smoke in the clubs no more. So I started seeing everyone vaping. Like, and I'm like, what is that shit?
Right.
And then done my research, and I was like, yo, actually it was Ben over there that put me onto it. He was like an early adapter. He had like loads of stores in the UK. It's like, yo, this is the vaping thing, smoke it. Stop smoking cigarettes. So I started smoking it. And then within a few months, I had made my own juice called Fatty's Juice, Charlie Sloth's Fatty's Juice, where I'd done like loads of dessert flavors, went nuts, went absolutely crazy. Kept the business for like 7 months and then sold it. Crazy. And then I've always done things like that outside, still involving and using the brand that I've built, the Charlie Sloth brand, to give it an upper hand and give it an edge.
Right.
But stepping outside of the music space to create other businesses that make sense.
Right. You've always stayed DJing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I love that.
Do you feel like you need to do that to stay in touch with the culture? Is that a big part of what keeps you relevant?
It's definitely a big part of me doing it, but it's the feeling. It's like, do you know, it's like being a sports star.
Right.
And going out and playing the game, and that feeling, the adrenaline that you get from being part of that game, the fans going crazy. Like, during lockdown, I think that was the hardest thing for me. Not having that. And to the point where I ended up searching the world so I could find that. Ended up going and living in Dubai for 7 months because I can still DJ there.
Really?
And I was DJing there every week, and like the biggest party, got the biggest residency out there.
That's how much you love DJing, that you were willing to move to fucking Dubai.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I moved out there, I took my family out there, we went out there for 7 months, played in the biggest club, had the biggest residency.
Wow.
Like, people still talk about, I still do the residency now. Just not every week. I do like 2 weeks a month, last Saturday and first Saturday of every month.
And so when you're booked at a club, how long are you performing for?
An hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
And are you on the mic a lot during that?
A lot. I get really caught up in it.
Right.
You should come, man.
I would love to.
You need to come to Dubai with me, bro.
I heard you can't smoke weed there.
You can't.
Yeah. That might
But
be
I
an
mean,
issue.
we can drink, bro. We can drink.
Ugh.
We can drink.
Yeah, I'm not a big drinker.
Really?
Yeah. If I'm going to London, I need a spliff roller to meet me at the fucking airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can arrange that for you.
Okay. And he needs a terrible criminal record as well. He needs to tell me where not to go. Okay, but so, wow, that's so interesting to me. So is there a part of you where you're so comfortable because you've been killing it, you've got the alcohol, you've got all this shit going on, that the DJing thing starts to feel like maybe you want to step away from it? Or is it just so, like, such a part of you that you just couldn't imagine yourself giving it up?
It's a massive part of me, for sure. But at the same time, going back to what I said earlier, I ain't trying to be that old guy.
Right.
I'm not trying to be the old guy in the club looking all crispy, fucking shit falling off his face, all ashy. I'm not trying to be that guy.
Right.
And block another young G's blessing.
Right.
I'm not trying to do that. So there's a point in my life where I know I'm gonna have to step away. As much as I love it, and I'll still do parties for the man them. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Private parties here and there. But I won't be DJ Charlie Sloth anymore.
Right, because there's always that decision to make. It's like when you get successful for something that's kind of inherently young, it's like, how long are you going to ride it out? And we see like somebody like Funkmaster Flex or Westwood, we've seen them riding this shit out. And it's like, I see the comments online of like, oh, they should hang it up. They should, Flex should let somebody else take over his role. I'm like, that's not really how the world works. People don't just give up their fucking
and
gig.
For them, man, that's their life.
Yeah.
Like, so who are you to knock that? Like,
Right.
that's what both of them are passionate about. They love that shit.
Right.
They genuinely love it. Otherwise, they probably would have give up years ago. They genuinely love doing that shit.
Right.
And playing music and getting excited about music and sharing music with people. Let them do their thing. That's amazing for them.
Right.
That's again, it's a personal thing for me. I just don't want to do that.
Right.
Like, and it's not a knock on anyone else. I'm not saying you man should have done your thing ages ago and bounced out. Nah, because like there's some of the best broadcasters broadcasting to the day they die. Because that's what they do. That's what they care about.
You look at somebody like DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
It's like if DJ Khaled was going to listen to the comment section telling him that he was too old or that he was goofy or whatever, it's like, bro, like you just can't listen to the fucking...
And especially noise on the
peanut
internet,
gallery,
man.
yeah.
Fuck that shit. It's not, I don't even look at that shit.
Yeah.
Because it's just a distraction.
Right.
It's a distraction. Like if you've got good people around you, they'll tell you the truth.
Right.
Of what you really need to know. If you're messing up and you're doing dumb things, the people around you, they should be telling you. Not people that you don't know.
When you're a DJ on the BBC or when you have this involvement that you have, do you have to keep your nose super clean?
Oh, super.
Really?
Super.
So you get in a fight
clean.
outside the club, that's not good.
Terrible. But I think that for my brand in general.
Right.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of like young people that look up to me, and for me, I take that shit seriously. You'll never see me do wild stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll do stupid stuff, but not wild, because I feel like I have a responsibility and I take that seriously. Again, that's not for everyone, but for me personally, I'm a father.
Right.
So I'm not trying to do something that my kids would be like hella embarrassed about,
right,
or that I wouldn't want them to see and be like, "Raw, is that how you moving, Dad?"
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I want them to be able to look up to me and be like, "That's my dad. My dad's a G.
Right.
My dad's proper."
Have you had to learn over the years to move a certain way? You take everything very serious?
For sure. Like for me, like again, like going back to where I come from, there's still moments in me where like that old me wants to get out. And like sometimes someone will say something stupid, and I'm like, that would never run. Like 20 years ago, you'd never be able to say that to me.
Well, you're in the club, so it's 3 a.m. and you got some guy who's off hella ketamine screaming in your face. I mean, that's a recipe for me wanting to beat the shit out of somebody for sure. Yeah.
But again, like for me, like if I see a situation like that, I'm like, really, like, where's the win?
Right.
And even if I'm intoxicated, if I'm drunk, I still want to think, where's the win? I ain't getting paid to fight you.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like I've got a million things to lose and not one thing to gain.
Yeah.
And that's my mind state. So like, even if he says something that's like hella offensive or makes me look stupid, I'm still walking at that club rich as fuck. You know what I mean?
And you have to be able to make those decisions.
Critical decisions. Yeah. It's so important.
Those decisions can be like the difference between you having a long career and you just completely fucking it up. Yeah. Definitely. Sure. So, okay, besides the fire in the booth thing, like how did you approach your game plan with the BBC in terms of you wanting to take over as much as possible? Like how do you go about advancing when you're in such an established brand like that?
For me, it was just about creating a platform where these artists could showcase how incredible they were. Right. I knew the talent was there. I knew the skill set was there. I just had to create something where the audience and the consumer would want to come and get excited by these artists. And I knew if I created that, it would create an audience. It would create a fan base where people would be like, yo, like, that's my shit. I want to go to the club and see these guys perform.
Right.
I want to go to an arena and see these guys perform. And I knew if the scene and the industry grew, I'd grow with it. You You know, I knew that. And for me, like, again, like, I'm just a massive fan. That's all I am. Ultimately, I'm just a super fan.
Right.
A geeky super fan. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm a nerd. Like, I've studied everything.
But you've stayed in touch with that even as the music has changed so dramatically over the years. You've never really lost that love for it?
Nah. And like, you know, I will still find artists, whether they're from the UK or from the USA, that are brand new or relatively new on their journey, that super excite me. And that for me, that lets me know that I'm still in the right place.
Right.
Like, the minute that stopped happening, I'd have to question myself.
Right.
You know, and to be fair, there was a point in my life, maybe 5 years ago, where I was thinking to myself, as I'm getting older, am I gonna turn into my dad, for example? Yeah, where he's turning around, he's like, "What is this nonsense?"
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this ain't John Holt. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's what I knew.
Right.
That's what like made me who I am. The music that shaped me. But it's never happened.
Right.
Like, the passion and the love for the music is still there, and I still hear an artist to be gassed, to be like, send it to everyone, yo, you heard this?
Right.
You heard this guy? Put it in the group. Oh my God, this guy bodied that. So the excitement's still there. And the moment that changes is the moment it's time to retire.
Has there been moments though where there was an artist popping off and you were just like, man, maybe this is just not for me anymore?
Nah, I mean, it's you know, there's so many artists, and there's still artists I listen to. I'm like, what is this? Like, how has this even made it through?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, even the whole 6ix9ine thing for me.
That was tough?
Tough. And it was tough to watch, and it's tough to watch like everyone allowing it to happen. For me, it was just like, how is this even allowed to happen? In the UK, that couldn't happen.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen, even with the internet in place. That could never in a million years happen.
That's what I was thinking, is like, you are somewhat insulated from having to be exposed to a lot of like truly terrible rap music because English culture is so obsessed with tradition to a certain extent that it's just, there's less ridiculously goofy stuff that would become popular, I feel like.
Yeah, without doubt. I think integrity is a massive thing in the UK.
Right.
Like, people, they take their integrity seriously.
Big time.
Big time.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't got your integrity, it's like, and it's a smaller place. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't get away with the same stuff in the UK. They can get. The US is massive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you may never see someone you got a problem with ever. It's
Right.
that big. In the UK, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna bump into someone real quick.
There's a big premium put on like being a normal guy, I feel like, in England, or being like a stand-up regular guy, whereas like Americans kind of like rush into like celebrity and want to be sort of like insulated from the world around them.
Yeah, I see that.
You know?
Yeah, I see that.
I see a lot of like famous people in London who still seem like they're determined to keep a certain you know, level of connection to their culture.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in America, a lot of times it's like, I'm gonna get this mansion in Calabasas and never see anyone again.
Just kick back.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I don't know if you're sick of talking about this or not, but the Drake one must have been insanely massive, like beyond anything you had done up to that point. I'm assuming.
And from like throughout my career, I have moments of, right, I've achieved that. What's next?
Right.
I've done that. What's next? And I always set myself new goals.
Because you even said in the intro, you're like, we're going to be talking about this when I'm dead and gone.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is that shows a level of experience that you knew how much this was going to matter.
And for me, it was a massive personal moment because it was something that I had chased for years.
Right.
Like, we'd speak about it. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I'm never the guy to push you. I'm not going to be like, yo, bro, when we doing it?
Right.
You know, it's like we'd be in the messages and be like, yo, like, it'd be mad if you did it. It's like, yeah, trust me, I'm going to body it when I do it.
I deal with that too, where the bigger you get, the more you don't want to seem like a dick rider, like just being sort of thirsty for content, you know?
And I think you have a different understanding of it. The more you grow as a person in your career and your position, and you're on the other end of it.
Exactly.
And people are like, yo, when we going to do this? Fry in the booth, bro. You must get it every day.
Yeah.
Bro, why ain't I no jumper yet? When are we doing no jumper?
Right.
So then you start thinking, well, I don't really appreciate that. Like, that's not cool.
I don't want to be the annoying person to somebody that other people are to me sometimes. Yeah.
And that's how I think. Yeah. So, like, we talk about it for a while, and this went on for a few years.
And you connected with him early in his career?
No.
How'd you end up running into him or getting in a relationship?
Obviously, I had followed him for years, and we had a lot of like friends that were in the same circles.
Right.
And one day he just followed me. And then I can't lie, I was gassed.
Same. The Drake follow day is a big day.
This was years ago as well, but I was gassed. Do you know, like, I might even have let like a little, I'm not even joking. I was in the car with the man and I was like, going for my phone. I see, wow, Drake, it's just Champagne Pappy just followed you. And I was like, ah! Everyone was like, yo, Sloth, you good? Like, yeah, bro, man's good. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I had to wait 10 minutes to pass before I say, yo, Drizzy just followed me, you know?
Yeah.
So they didn't think that, like, it was about Driz.
Right.
But then, and then we just started messaging. Like, for me, like, he's one of the most genuine dudes that I've met in this game.
Right.
Like, people always got something to say about Drake because he's the top of the top. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Still, like, no one can argue with that, in my opinion. He's the guy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's the guy. But as a human being, I think he's equally as great. Like, and just watching how he moves and how he conducts himself, being out with him, seeing how he moves and how he conducts himself.
Right.
I just think he's like a stand-up person, again, who genuinely cares.
Right.
Cares.
Do you know he was going to come through that day, or were you just hanging out in the studio with the fingers crossed? Because it was like 2 a.m., right?
So I'd seen that he was coming to the UK, yeah. So I messaged him, and I was like, "Driz, you coming to the UK, yeah?" And then just put the eyes emoji, and about 10 minutes later, he FaceTimed me, and I was on air when he FaceTimed me, and I was like, "Yo, I gotta take this call, I gotta run outside." So I ran into the studio next door, and he's like, "Yo, what's up?" I'm like, "Yo, you coming to the UK?" He's like, "Yep." I was like, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "What do you think it means?" And I was like, "Does it mean what I think it means?"
Right.
And he just started cracking up. I was like, "We're doing this final booth Driz or what?" And he's like, "I'm pulling up." And I was like, "All right, cool." And he's like, "Yeah, I land in 2 days. I'll shout you when I'm on the ground."
Right.
So then he lands, and the day after he landed, he was in Annabelle's, which is like a super private members club.
Right. And he was a little tipsy.
He was waved. Yeah.
Right.
We was there the night before. We went for dinner there the night before.
Okay.
And we had a mad party there. And then the following night, he went back there. And he was like, "Yo, where you at?" And I was like, "Yo, I'm in London." He's like, "Yo, I'm in Annabelle's. I'm about to pull up." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, yeah, get ready. I'll be there in an hour." So I had to rush around, get the team ready, calling people mad late at night. "Yo, get to the BBC. And then he pulled up, just one up, on his ones. Just stepped in to the BBC, one up, no one else. Driver downstairs.
Really?
Yeah, stepped out. That's central London, do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Just stepped out, pulled up, we had a few drinks, chopped it up, and he's like, "Let's go." And then again, it's like another moment of just seeing how sick someone is. It was seamless.
Right.
Man come up there like dressed all smart and that, stepped out of Annabelle's, had a couple drinks, and just lit it up. One take, no messing about.
Really?
Just clean swiped it.
I was thinking that when I was rewatching it last night. I was just like, how the fuck does he just have that in his head ready to go? And I could tell it was one take.
Just clean. Like, no messing.
You got so much going on in your life. You made 5 million fucking songs in your life. How the hell did you just
remember
memorize
that?
5 minutes of lyrics?
Crazy.
Insane.
And it was effortless.
Yeah.
It was just like, I don't know, so graceful the way he did it. Like it was, and then he was like, "Yo, you coming to party? Let's go turn up, man." That's it. I'm like, "Oh man, let's get it in." But again, like for me, that's just testament to who he is. Like a lot of people are like, he's always like jumping on what's hot.
Right.
Nah, bro.
What he thinks is cool, honestly.
Yes, what he loves. That is a reflection of his character and his passion to his craft and to the music.
Right.
He can turn the lights on for you like that. He's Drake. He doesn't have to do that.
Right.
He does that because he cares and it excites him. He's passionate. He thinks that's sick. I want to be on that record. And he's done it time and time again in the UK. There's no real win for him. He's the biggest in the UK anyway.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's not going to make him bigger because he's jumped on a joint with a UK rapper.
If you had to put it into words why he chose to do your show instead of, an American show that maybe has bigger viewership or something like that, what do you think it is about the platform that you created?
I think that he felt how genuine it was and how genuine I was about the platform and what it meant to me and what it meant to culture and how serious I took it. Like, I've never done something just to do it. I've never done it for clout. I've never done it because my man's got heat for the wrong reasons. I'm not going to say come and do a fire in the booth for that reason. It's just not happening. I'm not going to do that, and I never have. I've done comedic fire in the booths where I've let big comedians from the culture come onto the platform, but that's because they're part of the culture. And for me, it was a leg up for them.
Right.
You know, every comedian that's come on from the UK to do a Fry in the Booth has gone on to greatness. They've achieved incredible things and it's changed their lives. They're millionaires. They can provide for their family. But they was doing something for the culture. It ran hand in hand. You know, there was coming to our events, to the rap events. There was on all the same blogs. It's part of the lifestyle.
Right.
So for me, it weren't out of, you know, it weren't corny to do that. It was the fact that, these guys are part of what we're doing.
Right.
Let them showcase what they're doing and make fun of it, because each person had a character or did something along the lines of where there was a rapper.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it just made it fun. But I've never done anything that's corny because it's going to do views.
Would you describe it as like an adrenaline dump as soon as Drake finishes rapping?
Oh, it was
where it's
wild.
like, I have that on camera. That exists.
Yeah.
That's going to live forever.
For sure.
I just did that. I'm not going to do anything better than that for a long fucking time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a crazy feeling, right?
At the end of it, he's like, I'll be back in February to do part 2.
I heard that, and I was,
like in February, I'm like, yo, Jay, what you saying, bro? When you landing? And he's like, yeah, soon. And I've like every 7 months or so, I'll send him a little reminder. Yo, Jiz, how are you, my guy? Fry in the Booth?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm never trying to dress it up. Like, we'll talk about other things if need be, but like every 7 months or 6 months, I'm like, when's part 2? Or I just be like, part 2, eyes.
just remind him.
I'm
here.
Yeah, it's coming. It's got to come. Drizzy, man.
Still
I'm waiting,
grinding.
bro.
For sure. Yeah, what do you think about like his embrace of UK rap and everything? Like, do you feel like it's been clearly you think it's genuine, but like, do you feel like it's been an overall thing that's shed light on the UK scene?
For sure. I mean,
to a lot of people, that's the first time that they heard a UK rapper. Realistically,
I mean, you know, like you look at Dave, for example.
Right.
I think Dave's one of the most incredible rappers, period, at this moment in time. He's coming over here and he's selling out shows. Like he's got like 10 shows coming up. He's been selling out his shows here for the last 3-4 years. And, you know, obviously he's a huge success in his own right.
Right.
He's like one of the biggest rappers in the UK, hands down. Just sold out the O2. Was it 2 nights? 3 nights? 2 nights.
Last time I was in the UK was the time when some white kid came out at a festival and performed his song. It went crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
That was like the viral thing last time I was out there, to sort of carbon date it.
He's like a superstar in his own right.
Yeah.
But the moment Drizzy jumped on the record with him, it just elevated him even more. Especially people from outside of the UK, it put a certain look on his brand. You know, and then with Giggs, like Giggs is like, for me, the most credible, the most certified rapper, in my opinion, the greatest rapper to come out of the UK. Like, he's that guy. Never conformed, never tried to make a pop record or a record that's for the clubs or, you know, for the radio. He's just done him. He's a street guy, got the streets on smash. Everyone respects him. He's that guy.
Right.
So then when he did that joint with Drizzy, KMT, like, again, it was just a colossal moment. And now, like, you know, there's always been this kind of look down your nose from American folk to British rap.
Even when that came out, because
massively.
that was super viral.
Yeah, super viral.
Probably a lot of people who were kind of hearing UK rap for the first time. They're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, but then, you know, since then, I feel like we're closer to understanding each other more than we ever have before.
There's more overlap now.
There's more overlap. And that's not just with music, that's with culture and lifestyle. I think, personally, you know, growing up, we always looked to America for fashion, for language. Like, America was always the coolest place on the planet. And I think there's been a massive shift. You know, I see a lot of these rappers now, they dress like us. Like, we don't dress like them no more.
Right.
Like, they dress like us more so than ever before. They'll shop in the same shops that we shop in the UK. Like the high fashion stuff, wear it in the same way that we wear it. Even some words now, I'm like, yo.
You hear it.
Yeah. So, like, the crossover's there, like the cross-pollination's there, and I feel like he's played a massive part of that. Because you even look at Drizzy, he's from Canada.
Right.
So he's the biggest rapper in the world. He's Canadian.
You never would have thought that Americans would embrace a Canadian rapper before him. Yeah.
Never.
And now there's plenty.
Yeah, there's loads.
Where nobody bats an eye. It's just kind of normal.
Not even a thought. So, and I think we're moving into that space, and he has played a huge part in that. You know, like, in the same way introducing UK artists to the Americans, he's done that around the world for British artists and other artists from other regions, like Jamaican artists, and like, he does it because he cares. And I think people that are purists, they see that. They don't look at him and be like, yeah, bro.
It's ultimately good for his legacy, you know?
Yeah, he's done so many incredible things outside of just his music. Like you can't knock the man. Like for me, he's like the greatest.
Right.
He's that guy.
Yeah.
For my generation, he's that guy. For everything he's achieved and still the way he is and how he carries himself as a man, like I feel like, that's the benchmark.
Right.
That right there is the benchmark.
So did shit change for you after he came on the show? Like, did you all of a sudden start having more opportunities, or like you're already kind of like topped out for how big you can be in your world? I feel like, but did it still kind of open doors?
It definitely did. And do you know, it was a massive defining moment in my career in general.
Right.
Because it was, like I said, I've always set goals for myself. What's next?
Right.
So, for example, like when I got the Westwood show, the Saturday Night Rap show, the Holy Grail, the biggest show in British history when it comes to rap. I was like, I've done it. And I'm still quite young in comparison to my peers who have been here. Do you know what I mean? What's next? So I spent a bit of time like, what do I want to do next? Because I've just done this. This was something that I'd set out to do, and I'd worked at it. I'd done it in 3 years instead of 5. So that story, again, we touched it before, when the bosses were like, I was like 5 years. I ended up doing it in 3 years. I ended up replacing Westwood on all of his shows in 3 years. And I remember the day it was getting announced. So the big boss called me. He's like, we're announcing it today. At the moment, it's only you and I that know about this. But at 12 today, the rest of the BBC and then the press will be made aware of this. So I was like, I appreciate it, Ben. No worries. So at 11:55, I went into the office and I sat on the desk of the guy that laughed in my face. Because I knew the email was going to all staff at midday that day. I just sat there, put my coffee on the desk, sat on the edge of his desk. I was like, hi, bro, you all right? He's like, yeah, Charlie, how are you? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Everything good in life? Yeah, everything's fantastic. I'm looking at my watch, waiting for that midday email to go, bing! All staff email.
Right.
So then it drops into his inbox. Charlie Sloth will be replacing Tim Westwood as of... so I looked at him.
They didn't have to put it out there like that, right? They could have just said, Charlie is doing this slot, and just act like it's not a replacement.
They always say whoever's replacing who, and then they'll have a little, like some kind words for the person who's departing.
Oh, okay. So
thank you for...
This is tradition.
We'd like to thank so-and-so for all of their years of dedication to the network, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So it's dropped in there, and I've turned to him, I'm like, yo, I told you it'd take me 5, I did it in 3. And he's like, fair play to Charlie. I tip my hat to you. You said you was going to do it and you did it. And that was it. I was like, all right, cool. But then at that point, I'm like, what's next?
Right.
What am I going to do next? And then at the time in the UK, rap was like super London-centric.
Right.
And I'd always just been a fan and studied hip-hop, rap in general, especially American rap, because that's what I grew up on. That's what I knew at the time. So at the time, I compared it to, hip hop being very New York centric. So I sat on my team and it's like, so Charlie, what's next? What are we doing next? And I said, I'm gonna find a rapper from outside the M25, which is like a motorway that surrounds London, and I'm gonna make them as big as the rappers from London. And my team was like, what? Like, what's the win in that? There's no win. I was like, there is a win, there's a massive win. I said, when you look back like 30 years ago, when hip hop first came about, it was very New York centric. If you weren't from New York, no one cared. But at the time, it was a cottage industry. It was this small niche. It wasn't what it is today. And it weren't until the West Coast got on, until the South got on, that it became a global business. It became a lifestyle. And I see that happening in the UK. No one from outside London was getting on. No one cared. No one took you seriously. And I knew that if artists from outside of London got on, because UK is still a big place, there are loads of cities, that the game would change.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I'm going to find an artist from outside of London. I'm going to make them massive. So I went, it took me, I don't know, maybe 2 years.
So it was a very deliberate search.
Very deliberate.
If you went 2 years, then you must have been being pretty fucking picky.
Yeah, very picky.
And so what are you doing? You're going around the trailer parks and talking to all the local gypsies?
I'm looking online. I'm looking online. I'm trying to find, the artists. There was freestyle platforms at the time from outside of London that were popping, but we weren't doing numbers, because not the numbers that we was doing in London,
right?
Because it was the industry weren't watching it,
right?
But I was watching it, and I'm trying to find artists from outside of London that are performing on these platforms and that are killing it. So I found one guy. His name was Bugsy Malone. He come and done his Fire in the Booth.
That big, strong motherfucker.
Yeah.
I seen him walking around backstage at Wireless.
Yeah. And it's one of the most famous Fire in the Booths ever. He came through, did his Fire in the Booth. It was legendary. And he had all of the minerals and ingredients to be a superstar. Everything about him. And I see that there and then. And at the time, you know, I never had a record label. It was not even a thought. I didn't want a record label. Why I want a record label for? But I started a label to facilitate his project. We put his project out, and it went number 8 in the national charts. It was an EP. Went number 8 in the national charts, and the game changed. The game was different from that point. It weren't a London rap scene anymore.
Really?
Because there was always divisions as well. You had like rap, you had grime, like you had like the backpack stuff. There was different pockets within London, but it was London.
Right.
And then once he had come through and kicked the door off, and he kicked the door off sensationally with such style, such grace, it was wild. He was like the Terminator.
Wow.
The way he came through. And the game changed forever from that point, in my opinion. It became a UK scene.
Did you start to feel it? Like you could feel that the new artists from more remote areas, they felt like they could make it?
Yeah, definitely. He gave everyone belief. And then artists from like now, you know, if you talk about top 5 artists or top 10 artists, quite a few of them are from outside London.
Right.
But that all happened from him kicking that door off.
We've had H on here a couple times from Manchester.
And he's one of them, you know, from definitely Bugsy and H are from the same area.
It didn't even really strike me as that big of a thing that he wasn't from London. You know?
It's not no more.
These days, yeah.
Yeah, at all, it's not. But then it was, you know what I mean? It was like a massive thing. So, that really changed everything in terms of the landscape of the game in the UK. And I noticed it straight away because I was doing more shows in towns that I'd never normally do shows that were packed.
Really?
Because there was a hunger, there was a desire for the music and the culture now in these cities and towns that weren't really getting a look before because there was someone representing them.
Right.
Someone who they thought, that my man represents me. Like these dudes from London, I can't relate with that.
Right.
But my man, he's from my hood, I can relate to that. And the game changed. And now, you know, a lot of these guys, all millionaires. A lot of these guys are all super rich and they can be rich just from the UK because it's a UK scene.
What are your thoughts on, over the years, seeing hip hop, and it's not uniform like this, but large percentage of hip hop has gotten like increasingly more and more violent. And they're talking about real shit that's going on. There's a big concern in the UK. I've read about a bunch where like, you know, the government's worried about drill and all this kind of stuff. How do you, as like an elder statesman of this, do you ever feel like you're kind of caught in between that moral conflict of like, maybe I'm promoting shit that is promoting violence?
I mean, for me, it's social commentary. I think these issues run a lot deeper than music. Like, we've got to look at what's making these guys talk about this shit. Like, there's some people that come from that way of life or have never come from that way of life, rather, that talk about it and glamorize it, and I don't think that's cool. I understand entertainment, but at the same time, I don't really think that's cool. But if somebody's experienced that, and that's their way of life, who are we to tell them that they can't talk about it? It's social commentary. It's what they know. It's what they've experienced. It's society's job to better those situations. It's society's job to look at what are causing these problems. Why are these kids rolling around with guns?
Right.
Why? Why are these kids rolling around with knives? Why are these kids having to sell drugs? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not our job as a society to judge people for talking about things that they experience or trying to quiet them. If we want to fix the problem, it's a lot deep-rooted than kids rolling around with straps and knives.
Right.
There's a reason. What's the reason?
Does the BBC censor the artists at all? Like,
for sure.
Can I go on the BBC and say I just stabbed 10 people?
No. Totally censored. Totally.
Is that ever frustrating for certain artists? Or?
Definitely, massively. Really? You know, there was a long period of time where, like, we'd get a lot of kickback for that.
Really?
There was times where there was like, you know, huge national press moments around things being censored and censorship, especially if someone made a political statement and it was censored. So yeah, you know, I think censorship in general it's a shit thing, man. Like freedom of speech is so important. People being able to speak their truth is so important. At the same time, I don't think it's cool when you got these dudes that have never experienced that stuff trying to glamorize it, run around trying to, you know, get some credibility or stripes at the back of it and earn a quick buck. But if you've experienced it, you have every right to talk about it.
But we don't have a BBC telling us what is appropriate and what isn't. But like one of the only rules we have on here is like, if you're from a gang, you're not going to come on here and use this as a platform to say, hey, fuck this other gang.
Yeah.
Now, if you are a rapper and you have an issue with a specific rapper and you want to say that, that's cool. But I feel like I would look crazy letting my platform be used to basically like sow
that's not responsible,
murderous beef between people. You know, it just seems like a misuse of the platform to a certain extent.
I think over here, I think is like, you know, it's quite a lot different to how things are in the UK. Like the gang thing out here, it's wild. Like until I'd come out here and really experienced it firsthand and spoke to people and like understood the severity of it, it's only what you see or what you hear.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? By experiencing it firsthand and seeing it, like it's pretty crazy out here.
The more I learn about it, the more insane it seems, because then you start to learn more about the stuff that's happening that doesn't involve anyone famous, and that's where you really start to like learn about the horrible things of kids getting shot and shit like that. You know,
it's a serious thing.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so from at this point in your career, what are you focused on? Like, what's the stuff that makes you the most excited aside from just keeping all these different platforms running?
So I just done the Find a Booth with Drake, and I got to that moment again in my life where I'm like, all right, what's next?
Right.
And at this point, for a little while, I had like the DSPs hitting me up like, yo, we should have a conversation.
Okay.
We should talk. And at that point, or before that point, I didn't really get it. I understood streaming, I understood the value of it and the importance of it, but I didn't understand how my platform and their platform could coexist and for it to make sense.
Right.
So I just done the Find a Booth with Drake. I'm thinking, what's next? And I end up having a conversation with Zane Lowe, who for me was like always a super champion for me, like really supported me from the day off, like kind of took me under his arm a bit at the BBC and always championed me massively, especially within the BBC, championed me massively. And of course, he had made that jump from the BBC where he's like an icon, a legend.
Right.
He's the man, the myth in the world of broadcasting and radio. And he took that jump and left to come and set up Beats One. And I'd watched that transition and I watched it and I had a conversation with him like, what's it like, man? Like, how are you finding it? He's like, bro, it's incredible. Like the game's changed forever. And I could see that shift. And he was like, go and speak to Oliver Schuster. Have a conversation with Oliver, see how you feel about Apple. So I went and met with Oliver and he said, like, what's your aspirations? What are you trying to do? And I said, look, I want to be a part of the story of the first international British rap star. I want to be a part of that story. I want to help make that happen. I want to be part of the ingredients that makes that happen. And at the same time, I want to create a global rap community.
Because there's got to have been a lot of times over the years where you felt like you were seeing a rapper cross over. And then it didn't really happen as much as you wanted.
And I feel like at the BBC, there was only so much that I could do. I felt like in the UK, I can do a lot for you.
Right.
But on a global scale, what can I do? Like, I have relationships around the world, but there's only so far and so much those relationships can do to help an artist grow into that space even further.
Right.
So I said, look, I want to be a part of that story of the first British international rap star, and I want to make sure that Find a Booth becomes an international property where it creates community around the rap stroke MC community around the world. So he's like, I can facilitate that for you. I can help you do that. I see your vision. And I felt like he did. Like, for me, when I meet people that are genuine and have the same passion for music that I do, I can feel it. Like, it's not about money for him. It wasn't about, all right, how many clicks can you bring through to my service? It was a genuine conversation about our passion for your music and how much it meant to be able to achieve something along those lines. So when I felt that from him, my decision was made straight away. I was like, I need to come here. So I'd done the deal with Apple, announced on social media that I was leaving the BBC. I didn't say where I was going at the time.
So you have no relationship with BBC at all at this point? Okay.
No. Well, at this point I do. I'm still on the network when I announced that I'm leaving.
Right.
I'm like, I'm leaving. And then, so I left the BBC, not in the greatest way in the end.
Really? They weren't that happy with it?
They weren't happy that I was leaving. They tried to do everything they could to convince me to stay, but I'd already made my mind up. It was not a thing for me. There was no way that I was going to stay, no matter what they offered me. Like, tried to offer me ridiculous money, like more opportunities, but it weren't. I couldn't see myself being there for even another year because it weren't part of my vision, part of what I need to do next. So we parted ways. It weren't in the best way in the end that we parted ways, but I'm forever grateful to everyone at the BBC and, you know, like, for giving me the opportunities that they did and the platform that they did for the amount of time. I was there for 10 years that they did. Never say a bad word about the BBC or the organisation, ever. I just wouldn't, out of respect. And yeah, so I joined Apple, and then, you know, we start getting busy. So in the first year, we're getting busy. Like, I've got the plan, I know what I'm doing, and now I'm gonna execute it. So we start getting busy. So in that first year, we do Juice WRLD, RIP.
Wow.
Like, for me, I'm trying to make this an international platform, not just a British platform. And people are like, well, you're selling out on the UK MCs. I'm like, no. I'm giving them opportunity. I'm giving them opportunity to be seen by the American audience, by the European audience, by the African audience, by creating an international platform. And that was my vision. So we had Juice WRLD, RIP, Potsmore, RIP, Lil Baby. The list is massive of the big artists that we had come and do Fry in the Booths. And then COVID came. Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, we're just getting started, just getting traction. Things are just starting to happen.
And that was part of the deal with Apple, is that you got to put all that content on your own personal YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, so it goes out on Apple first. It lives on the Apple platform for 48 hours. Oh, okay. So they get the content for 48 hours. And it does great business for Apple.
But you building your own platform obviously has a lot of fucking value there.
Of course. But the platform was already there.
Right.
You know, in terms of the Fry in the Booth YouTube channel, it was already there.
But just knowing that the Lil Baby episode is going to be still getting views in 10 years on your platform, as opposed to this big corporation that you worked for all these years.
It's a partnership as well. You know, with myself and Apple, it's a partnership. Right. So, you know, we both have value out of what we're trying to achieve, and as any good partnership should. So COVID hit, and I'm like, man, we're just picking up wild traction, and now we can't even travel. So then obviously now the world's opening up. I'm able to travel again, and we're doing some like pretty incredible things with the Fry in the Booth platform. So, like, going back to me making it an international platform, like, obviously I spend a lot of time around Europe, France, Germany, Holland, non-English speaking countries.
You get booked all those places all the time?
I play everywhere, Nice. So for me, I know a lot of the artists there. I like the music. I can't understand it all, but I know that it's hard. Right. Tell by the way they're flowing, or what have you. So I wanted to incorporate these artists into what I'm doing, but I didn't want to be going in there and doing Fry in the Booths with all these big artists that are doing crazy numbers, like Germany, France. These guys are superstars. Right. Like doing like bigger numbers than American artists. So I'm not trying to go in there, do the Fry in the Booth for these big artists, which I can easily do, but not have no real understanding of their culture, of their lifestyles, or even their language, or what they're saying. Like, trying to play like I know everything, like I'm that guy. So
you dropping bombs on shit that you clearly don't understand. That's kind of funny.
It don't make sense, does it? It don't make sense. So then, it don't make no sense whatsoever. So then we decided what we're gonna do is we're gonna find the equivalent of me in each territory. So we've just launched Fry in the Booth Germany. Right. Well, it's about to launch, so I'm not sure. It's imminent, so I'm not sure when this is coming out, but it's imminent. So we've basically got Fry in the Booth in Germany, which has got their own host, who's DJ Max. He's like the equivalent of me in Germany.
Their own YouTube channel, or is it on your channel?
It will still stay on our channel, just because it's already got the platform there, and it makes sense. Yeah. So he'll be doing the Fry in the Booth with all the big artists. He's already recorded with all the biggest artists in Germany for Fry in the Booth. And then now they'll start dropping. And we'll do the same for all the non-English speaking territories around the world. So there'll be a Fry in the Booth France. Wow. You know, Fry in the Booth Nigeria, Fry in the Booth Ghana, Fry in the Booth Hispanic.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. So that's what we're working towards now. And then again, for me, like, coming here and bringing a platform here, I can attract a lot of the big artists, and a lot of big artists will do it, and they want to do it, especially the artists that believe they're the best and they want to rap. But the thing that's exciting me about coming here and being given the opportunity to be here is it takes me back to 13, 14 years ago when I was given opportunity to these YGs who weren't getting an opportunity to showcase what they're doing. And that's, since the start of the year, we've already recorded like 65 in the booths.
Oh, wow. Because you do it all over the place too. I didn't realize that you do it in different studios.
This year we've mainly focused so far on New York and LA, but cats from the States have flown in from their state to come and do the Fry in the Booths.
Right.
But my focus hasn't been, let me go and get the tier 1 big boys. I'm like, let me go and get the streets.
Right.
Let me go and find these artists that I think are sick, that nobody's really showcasing. Because I feel like it's got to the point over here where there's a massive vacuum. When I watch stuff, like, there's a huge vacuum between the elite, the big boys that are killing it, and then the guys that are almost there, that are trying, people know about, maybe not, they've not had the right records yet or what have you, and then the streets.
Right.
There's a huge mismatch. There's no one really doing it for the youths on the ground. You know what I mean? The YGs that are cold.
Yeah.
I've not seen it. I've not seen a platform that cuts through, that gives these kids the opportunity, and that's what we've been doing.
From the performance angle, especially, right?
Yeah, from the rapping angle, and I feel it. Like these dudes come in and they're doing good numbers. Don't get it twisted, but they're very early on in their career, and like just the gratitude that they have. Like, yo, bro, like I appreciate you letting man come and do this thing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can feel the gratitude, and I know that in the next 6 months, one of these YGs will connect. One of these young youths that have come through, one of their Fry in the Booths is going to connect differently. Right. And it just opens it up all again, but to a global platform. And then when we've got all these subsidiaries for the non-English speaking territories, like the Fry in the Booth platform will finally have a community that is an international community.
It's interesting because what you're building seems like you're trying to build something that's way bigger than you.
Way bigger.
Where you might not even be on camera much at all at some point.
There's going to be a point in the next few years. I don't know when it is. When that moment, and when I feel the moment's right, where someone will replace me on Fry in the Booth. It ain't about me.
Really?
This ain't about Charlie Sloth. It's not about me. It's not, like, Fry in the Booth has never been about Charlie Sloth. It's not that. Like, there will be a time when it may get to the point where there's a UK replacement and an American replacement.
Right.
I don't know, but there will definitely be a time when I'm replaced as the host of Fry in the Booth.
But at the same time, for you, the more famous that you get in America, the more money you can make or the more opportunities you have as well. Is that kind of like a balancing act where you're building something bigger than you and then you're also working on monetizing your fame as well?
Again, like on a real, and everyone wants to make money. Anyone who says they want to make money, they're a liar.
Right.
But make money.
A lot of people have made enough money that maybe
and I'll be
money
there.
that would be huge to other people is not that big a deal to them.
I know in 2 years, from other interests that I have, I will be able to walk away regardless, and my children's children will never have to work again. I know that. I have that confidence and belief to know that. So I'm not gonna, like, the most beautiful thing about that is I don't have to make decisions based on financial gain. I make decisions based on if it's for the Charlie Sloth brand, what's right for me.
Right.
If it's for the Fry in the Booth brand, what's right for the Fry in the Booth brand? What's right for these artists? What's right for the culture? What legacy do I leave behind? What integrity do I leave behind with that brand?
Right.
And that's, you know what? Like, freedom is a wonderful thing.
This is true.
And freedom is something that I've always worked towards. Like, real freedom. I want freedom. I want freedom for my family. I want freedom for my team. I want freedom for my friends.
Right.
Like, when I'm free, everyone's free around me. That's it. It's not a joke. And I know what kind of money that I need to enable me to do that. But I need to make sure that everything remains intact in terms of its credibility. I don't want people thinking, yeah, but Charlie's just got rich off Fry in the Booth and now he's balanced, he don't even care about it no more. So whatever. Nah, I didn't start Fry in the Booth because I thought I'm gonna get rich. I'm gonna do this and get rich. No.
But do you think about your legacy much? You think about how you'll be remembered?
Not so much. There's a part of me as I get older that does, but it's not like I'm not worried as much about what people think about me. I'd be more concerned about what people thought about Fry in the Booth. if I'm totally honest. And especially with the big picture and what I'm trying to create with it. I feel like nobody's ever done it. And I think like the way we consume content, I watch you and like, I tip my hat to you and just watch how you pivot and how you've moved and how you've created the things that you've created.
Appreciate it.
And I feel that, like for me, like if you didn't do No Jumper today for the rest of your life, it wouldn't be the same because you're the product. You're the product. No Jumper is a conduit for you, not the other way around. For me, it's totally different. For me, it's about the artist.
Right.
And I'm just the conduit for that artist. Does that make sense to you?
I feel you.
So
we do have a lot of other hosts doing interviews on here.
Yeah, my guy, love AD.
But that has given me a feeling that it's kind of like what you're describing, where you feel like Fire in the Booth is sort of designed to just put the battery in the back of all these artists. That has been a huge realization for me. It was like, oh, this platform is big enough that it's willing to accept hosts besides me.
Yeah, I've seen you do that.
Yeah, and that's like, oh, the idea that this could be kind of like an incubator for all this young talent. That is what really has got me energized. Yeah.
It's exciting. I feel the same way.
Because just like we want to, inspire musicians and stuff, I feel like the content creators, the podcasters, the Twitch streamers, etc. That's like the new hustle that a lot of people in the streets did not know about however many years ago, and then all of a sudden it's starting to click. And the fact that I was early on that and I can help sort of incubate some of that is like, that's a very great honor.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because you're helping out people that, they say it to me sometimes. They're like, our own people didn't give us this opportunity.
Yeah.
And that kind of means a lot to me to realize like, oh, you guys actually really appreciate this, and you're gonna like help open the door to more people that come from your circumstances. Yeah, definitely. I guess I don't have to ask this question. I did write, can you pay to get on your show?
Nah,
I'm gonna guess that's a resounding no.
Never happening. Not a chance, man.
Yeah, that would fucking send the quality control into a tailspin. I wrote this down too. Who is Edith Bowman, and what's your issue with her?
See,
fuck your life.
No. See, this was the big part of the exit from the BBC that they didn't like. They called it my Kanye moment. So basically, it was an award show.
Right.
She wasn't even there. And she won an award for a category. It wasn't even my award category.
Okay.
And so I was leaving, and this was kind of like 2 weeks before I was set to depart from the BBC.
Okay.
And at the time, I thought it'd be funny. Because I was a bit of a joker, bit of an arsehole, bit of an idiot sometimes. So I thought it'd be funny to get on stage and have a bit of a run.
Right.
And I got on stage and I was like, I'm leaving the radio. Thanks for having me. Fuck your life. And it blew up. It was wild. It was in every newspaper and it was.
Well, people took it as you saying "fuck you" to her.
She wasn't even there.
Right.
She wasn't even there.
Me watching the shitty quality recording of it last night, I would have never. known.
She was never even there, and it was just like, again, it was a joke that backfired, and in their favor, to be fair. Like, they spent a lot of time trying to shit on my character.
Right, because that's good for them, because it looks like, oh, he's unhinged.
Yeah,
of course,
he's crazy.
Of course he can't work here anymore.
Let him go where they knew where I was going. Let him go wherever he wants to go. We don't need him. And luckily at the time, obviously, I've known Zayn for years. He knows me. He knows what type of person I am. I called him. I explained myself. I'm like, I'm really sorry, man. I'm super sorry. Like, that weren't me, and he got taken totally out of, context, and luckily, he knew me as a person and as a character, and was like, it's cool, bro. Don't worry about that. I'll blow over. And Apple still had faith that I was the guy to be able to deliver what I said that I could deliver.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One thing you said is that you've had a team since very early on.
Yeah.
How much of your success is attributed to that? What's your team look like now? And like, how much of your success has been attributed to that throughout the years?
Everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm nothing without my team.
Because you seem like you're doing so much. It cannot be a one-man job.
So like my team, the guys that were involved then, they're still involved now. They're still a part of my team. I have a massive team. Like Sam has worked with me for 10 years. So like throughout pretty much my journey, my radio journey, he's been part of my management team. Like, everyone who's been a part of my team is still a part of my team. Like, unless you mess up bad or you do something crazy, you're gonna get fired. But as long as you play your position and you're loyal, then you'll always be a part of my team. Like, I feel like there's obviously new additions to my team. There's a lot of people that have joined of late, especially with all the different assets and different components to my brand. But the core team has been the same.
Right. And yeah, like, do you feel like who in your team does what? Or like how is this sort of able to make you more productive?
So like this, because there's so many different elements to my business.
Yeah.
There's people that are responsible for each category, if you like.
Right.
So like the record label and the publishing, like Ben handles all of that. Then like,
So you have a bunch more artists signed by this point?
we have done, and over the last 2 years, we've kind of like, all right, let's slow down,
Right.
stop it. Like it's not something that we see as our big picture. So like the Finer Booths get released as they're almost like singles,
Right.
which are exclusive to Apple Music. So
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that component of the business still has to be nurtured and looked after, because we've got ultimately 2 singles a week dropping on the label,
Right.
which are Finer Booths.
Wow.
So Ben heads up that, and then Sam kind of sits across all of the different Charlie Sloth brands. And then there's people that look after the creative video side of things, and then the brand side of things. So yeah, I mean, I've got a great team which enables me to move. Do you know what I mean?
It's very impressive.
Yeah, I need to be able to move.
Right.
If I didn't have these guys, I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I do.
Do you like
It'd
the
be impossible.
traveling? Watching some of these vlogs of yours, I was kind of like, holy shit, this looks like a grind sometimes, because you're just
It's
hitting
wild.
so many different
It's
locations.
wild. And you know what? Like, I'm still scared of flying.
Really?
Yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. The amount I fly as well. So like, I leave here tomorrow and I've got to do an 18-hour flight to Dubai when I leave here tomorrow. But for me, I just get messed up. Like before I get on the plane, and it's probably not the greatest thing to do. But,
So I was thinking, yeah.
But I can't do like Xanax or
Right.
sleepers. I can't do it.
That's the one on the plane.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. So I'll just drink. I'll just heavily drink before the plane. And luckily, I'm privileged enough to fly first. So I get a bed. Emirates, you get your own little room.
Get drunk and pass out.
And sit at the bar. On the Emirates, you just sit at the bar
Right.
and just chop it up. You might find someone on the plane, someone else who's doing something interesting where you can have a great conversation with them.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're socializing in first class. Every time I've been on first class, I just passed out and didn't talk to anybody.
I know.
feel like I might have missed out on some of it.
But when Emirates have got the bar, it's a different
Yeah.
experience. You can sleep for 4 hours, wake up, go and sit at the bar, have like 10, 15 more drinks.
10
go
or
and sleep
15
again.
while you're on the plane.
go and sleep again for another 4 hours.
Wow.
And then wake up, go back to the bar,
Yeah.
meet someone else,
See,
chop it up.
You Brits love to just keep drinking late into life.
Yeah.
It's such a thing.
It's a big part
Americans,
of my obesity, I think.
Yeah, that does make sense. But that's one thing that always blew my mind when I'd be in London is like you go to a random pub and it's like someone's grandma is sitting in the corner
Yeah, it's
having
wild.
a pint. And you're
Yeah.
like, that just would never happen in my world.
It's crazy.
Respect it though.
Yeah, you gotta respect it.
Definitely.
We should have a drink of this. I want you to taste it.
Pour it up. I'd love to taste
Have you
it.
got any ice?
Do we have ice?
And a couple cups. I want you to taste it.
We could record it for the vlog also on the way out, just in case that's how we go. Wait, these are 2 different flavors? This is
so that's
black grape.
And
Black
this
grape.
is red cherry.
Right. Definitely.
I'll let you open that one.
This is your
Or you can
favorite
keep
though?
it.
You're a vodka man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's a little bit different because it's flavored. Like the color of the liquor's flavored as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So we're gonna crack into both of these.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get 'em.
I feel like a lot of my team are big drinkers who don't really drink on the job because they don't see me drinking.
Yeah.
But they see me smoking, so they feel empowered to smoke.
You gotta wait for the ice. It's a totally different
It
experience.
smells nice, for sure.
Let's smell this one.
Okay, while we're waiting, the man's not hot thing kind of probably took over your life at one point, huh?
Crazy, massive.
That must have been insane.
Yeah, I mean that Fire in the Booth again. He was one of the comedians that I touched on earlier.
Right.
That it was someone who was, very prominent within the culture in the scene in the UK.
Right.
And I just felt really deserved an opportunity, and that was that was the biggest viral moment in the world
Right.
at that time. And I remember rappers hitting me up, like I remember Fabulous hitting me. I was like, "Yo, bro, what's this shit, man?" I was like, "Bro, he's a comedian. It's not real. He's a comedian."
Wow, that is a nice color you got going there
Yeah.
too. But I remember noting at the time that stood out to me because that was probably a lot of Americans' first introduction to
rap.
what a English person rapping sounds like, even if it was being done in a joking manner.
It was a joke. He was taking the piss.
Right.
Absolutely. That was one of the characters that he plays in his show. absolutely taking the piss.
Do you think anyone felt sort of attacked? Like maybe this is a little bit too close to being like their persona?
Yeah. I feel like at the time, if I'm totally honest, I feel like there was a lot of British rappers that were pissed off because this guy was headlining festivals, like he was doing big shows,
right?
Like, and he's a comedian, and he was getting the bag. Like he was really getting the bag. And he's not a rapper. He's not trying to be a rapper,
right.
And he would openly say this. But I feel like a lot of people felt like he was taking opportunities away from them, and then some people who are more serious were like, well, you shouldn't have done that because now everyone around the world thinks that we rap like that.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, wow, okay, I didn't look at it like that.
Yeah.
I understand your point, and you're right to a certain extent.
Right.
So I take responsibility for that. But I didn't understand that it would be as significant that it is, and it would have the impact that it did. Like the amount of American rappers that called me and was like, what the fuck is going on?
You thought it was funny, but you did not know that everybody else was going to think it was as funny as you thought.
Yeah,
it was.
I thought everyone would just think, right, this is funny.
I'm sure you've done other episodes you thought were pretty fucking funny that did not become like that.
That didn't connect in the same way. But yeah, that got connected around the world. Skid it back. Everyone was like, what? The maddest thing is I've heard American rappers rap like that since.
Yeah.
Skid it back. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, people thought it was real.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
I think that kind of thing is important, though. It's an important cultural like reset because it actually forces the rappers to kind of think about like, oh, are we kind of goofy? Like like when Drewski came out and really started like making fun of like Atlanta lean culture. That to me is actually kind of important because maybe there's some guy out there who's just like sitting around drinking lean all day who thinks it's the coolest shit in the world that's going to be like, damn, maybe I am a fucking cliche doofus. Maybe I should check myself because some of that stuff to me has even like made me check myself and be like, damn, we do say that. Fuck. That's embarrassing. Yeah. All right, we ready to taste this? I love the color, by the way. Cheers.
Cheers, bro.
Oh, that's nice.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
Your face says otherwise.
I don't drink a lot.
Yeah. But it's clean though, right?
I'm still in the Starbucks part of my day, but I do like it, yeah.
This one's even better.
Is it?
Yeah, that's my favorite.
We got to try them both. We got to have the rest of the office. They're all dying to get drunk, I'm pretty sure, besides Laura.
It's clean though.
It's nice.
Thank you.
I like that. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've really got your hands full working on the fire in the booth shit, all kinds of new stuff going on. The world has kind of opened up. I don't know if England's opened up as much as here. Okay.
Totally.
Nice.
COVID don't even exist there no more.
Yeah.
It's gone.
I feel like we might regret celebrating that at some point in the near
please,
future, but
please
yeah. For sure. Fuck. Okay. Anything else that we need to know about? It's very inspiring. Like your story is just a straight blueprint for if you're a young person who wants to make something out of yourself.
I appreciate that.
A lot of important lessons that could be learned from this interview.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I appreciate you having me on here, man.
No doubt. Anything else that we need to know about, though? Any other? I feel like you got all kinds of entrepreneurial schemes going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Streams
loads.
and
I
schemes.
feel like we could talk forever. But yeah, I mean, that's the crux of it. That's like the summary of who I am and, you know, what I'm trying to achieve. I think the fire in the booth thing really is a big thing for me in a minute. Just the artists.
Amazing.
So, like, just hit me up, innit? Them artists.
Where do you see yourself in 20 years?
On the beach. With a big cigar, just chilling.
Do you think that
some
you could hit this point that you're working towards and you could actually chill?
Yeah, definitely. In 20 years, I'm gonna be old, bro.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be hella old, really fat. I think I'm gonna be one of them like really, really fat dudes that has to get wheeled around.
You're motivated for that?
I'm cool with that.
I feel like you don't have a personal trainer. You're not.
Nah.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to change a bit. I've always been comfortable with my obesity.
Right.
I think it's part of my USP.
But I feel like you would be fatter if you were fully just letting go.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was fatter. I was actually. There's been a few points where I've been like really fat.
Right.
Like really, really fat. But I'm a bit more conscious and aware of it. I don't want to die yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way my lifestyle is and the lifestyle that I live,
right.
It'd be very easy for me to, because I weren't going gym,
yeah.
I weren't training. You know, like my days are like 18-hour days on a regular. I only sleep 4 hours a night.
Really?
I drink a lot and I eat a lot.
It sounds like AD before he went through his transformation this year.
He's lost hella weight, innit?
Yeah, but he went to the doctor and they said you got to stop drinking such a heroic amount of alcohol.
The same thing happened to me. So
you just said
at
fuck you.
At the end of the year, my body just gave up on me.
Right.
My body was just like, listen, bro, like you ain't built for this lifestyle.
Really?
Yeah, I'm taking it
So you had to scale it back a little bit?
Yeah, so I was in Jamaica, doing some fire and abuse in Jamaica. I started getting like pains in my body and stuff, and then come back and ended up in hospital. And for various different things, where I just didn't go to the doctors. I was like, you know, that caveman shit. I'm like, I'll be all right. Don't worry about it. And so then they was like, you need to sort yourself out. Ain't good. And then I went to this like private hospital in Dubai, or like alternative medicine. Shit's insane.
Stuck some needles in you and shit?
No, it's like, so basically, rather than using like medication from the pharmaceuticals, they'll provide you with like vitamins. So they do like a 600-point test on you for all the things, all the deficiencies and all the things that are not really working in your body.
Right.
Things you're lacking, things you need more of, like vitamin C, vitamin D, whatever it is.
Right.
Things that you shouldn't be eating, things that you are eating, things you're not eating enough of. And they do this massive like MOT on your body, like a full in-depth like research into your body and what's working and what's not working. They tell you so much about yourself. It's scary. So then I done that in January, and I've been sticking to that, and I feel so much good. I feel so much better for it. I feel good for it, in fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying to the office the other day, I was like, you know, if I was eating whatever I wanted to eat for the last 10 years, I would be 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, you know, at a certain point, as you get older, like, and when I was 21, I looked like this and I was eating burgers and pizza all day. You know, now I have to eat fucking salads and shit just to not explode.
Yeah.
But, you know, you get used to it as you get older.
I feel like I look at a burger and I put weight on.
Yeah.
I'm one of them guys. It's bad, you know. Like, if I have a McDonald's, it takes me like 2 weeks to work that off. My metabolism is shocking, man.
Really?
It's bad, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got to get you on testosterone like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I need that. Got any plugs?
I do, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, bring me in.
No, I know a guy in Beverly Hills, like a crooked doctor, will give you whatever the fuck you want.
Are you serious? Yeah, I need that.
Yeah, I can't risk it.
Why?
Just don't want to play with my testosterone. I don't know.
Serious?
Seems kind of scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's scary about it? What, can you lose your hair and shit? That's what I heard that the main thing is.
I would be more concerned with, like, you know, you do steroids, all of a sudden you're replacing the testosterone inside your body, so you're producing the testosterone for yourself. Your nuts stop doing the job. So when you get off steroids, there's always going to be this period where your body's not really creating as much testosterone as you want it to, or as it would naturally. And myself, being in the adult content business,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I could play with the moneymaker.
You think I could get into that, Ad? I was going to ask you
I
that.
think you should definitely get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been told I should loads of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be like the modern day Ron Jeremy.
I think it would complement everything else you have going
You
on
think so?
very well.
Do
Yeah.
you think people might look at me a little bit different if I do that?
No. From my experience, no.
I respect that.
No, I mean, I was talking to T.I. about it the other day, and yeah, it definitely makes him think differently about me. At least a little bit, at least in one regard. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I almost thought we were going to get through this whole interview without mentioning OnlyFans. Okay.
Yeah. How much money do you make off that stuff? Crazy, right?
It's offensive, yeah. But hey,
Damn.
we got a lot of revenue streams. That's just one of them.
I respect it.
Thank you. Means a
Appreciate
lot.
you, bro.
Appreciate you, bro. This was a great conversation.
Yeah,
I've always
thank
been
you.
super fascinated by you. I feel like I answered a shitload of questions that I had. I assume the audience probably would have been wondering about a lot of them too.
Yeah, that was a really in-depth interview.
Thank you.
Probably the most in-depth I've ever done. I don't really do interviews like that.
Really?
Nah. I'm trying to do more than I'd normally do.
Yeah, because when I typed in like your name and then interview, I think the first result was an 11-year-old Tim Westwood interview.
Yeah.
Which is not, that's not right. We need to get the full story,
Yeah.
not just the middle part, you know?
I've never really liked it because I've always been on the other side of the desk.
Right.
So for me to be interviewed, I'm like, nah. And now I'm kind of like, I'll just do the ones I want to do.
Right.
So like, my team sent me over like a long list of like, yo, these are the interviews that we got. I picked two. I picked two out of like 30 odd.
Really?
Yeah, yours and one other.
Wow, that's
And that was it.
All right.
Like, I'm not doing the rest.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I have one last question.
Yeah.
Say you're DJing a club tomorrow and you see Westwood backstage. Are you ignoring each other or are you having like a awkward conversation?
He's ignored me. Well, he ignored me for maybe 7-8 years. Would just ignore me. But ironically, would turn up to my events, giving out mixtapes at my events. Wild.
Giving out mixtapes?
Yeah, wild.
That's a thing.
Not
Okay.
up until not long ago. And then there was a show we was booked for the same show maybe 4 years ago, maybe 5. And I've never had a problem with him. You know what I mean? I understand that he has a problem with me. I understand why. I totally get it. I'm not ignorant. But I've never had a problem with him. I've never said a bad word about him. And he come to my dressing room, knocked on the door. He's like, yo, dog, can I come in for a minute? I was like, yeah, bro, come in, man. So he's coming, he's like, yo, man, just wanted to clear the air, just once and for all, just sort things out.
It's pretty good impersonation.
Yeah, I'm good at that. And I was like, bro, I've never had a problem with you. I've never had an issue with you. I said what I said. I done what I done. It's business. It is what it is. It was going to happen. Unfortunately, it was just me that did it. And he's like, yeah, like bygones be bygones. Shake hands and just keep moving. Yeah, and that was it. So like, I don't really see him no more. Do you know what I mean? And like, people probably couldn't afford to book us both at the same event. You know what I mean? So it's very rare that it would happen.
You were freaking out about him getting paid 10 grand to perform at an event in that first interview. You're like, I heard you're getting 10 large for an event.
Yeah. That's funny now.
Yeah, it is. I bet. I won't inquire about what your current rate is, but the fact that you were so wowed by that.
My mind was blown.
Right.
I was used to getting £100.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? £100, I'd be gassed.
Yeah.
Like, £100?
I mean, shit.
Bit of shopping and that?
£10,000 11 years ago.
That's like that was $20,000.
Yeah, that's a shit.
$19,000 back then.
Right.
Yeah. It's not powerful no more, the pound.
Yeah.
It's just this authority.
Yeah.
Somewhat. It will come back though.
We should go in on our same on one currency.
It's gonna happen.
Just me and you.
Let's do it.
We'll only pay each other back and forth.
No, it will grow. We should start our own currency.
Charlie coin.
Nah, it'd have to be like a real collab.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, that's smooth.
Do you like sloths?
Yeah, I actually do.
They are kind of cool, right?
Man. Super cool. Super cool animals. That's not where it came from, though, the name.
Oh. I'm sitting here thinking it's your government the whole time.
It actually did, but it weren't in that context. It was like, we was getting chased one day when I was super young. I was about 12 at the time. We was getting chased, and one of my friends turned around. His name was Sly. He turned around, he's like, hurry up, you fat sloth, you're gonna get caught. And I was at the back, for obvious reasons. You know what I mean? I was the out of breath, sweating.
Right.
Yeah, and it just stuck with me.
Right.
From there, it was like sloth. Yo, sloth, what you saying? Sloth.
And
So
it never went away.
Never went away. And I just started to embrace it. At first, I was like, don't fucking call me that. You know what I mean? Young kid, stop calling me that. Because remember the Goonies?
Yeah.
Hey, you guys.
Right.
I thought that they was talking about him. So I was in the mirror like, yo, like, am I ugly? Because they kept calling me sloth. So I didn't even know what a sloth bear was.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't have the balls at the time to turn around and say, yo, bro, like, you call me a sloth. What did you mean by that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, cool, I ain't a sloth. But sloth, the only sloth that I knew was Goonies.
Right.
Hey, you guys.
Wow.
Yeah, and then as time went on, I was like, yo, bro, why did you call me sloth? Like, as I got a bit bigger and the dynamics of our relationship slightly changed.
Right.
Like, why did you call me sloth? It's like, because sloths are super slow and you was running slow. And I was like, oh, right. I get it. I thought you was calling me ugly, bro. I would have hang up on that shit for years.
At least you sorted that one out. Yeah. That's amazing. Holy shit. What a story.
Yeah.
Charlie, man, it was an amazing time getting to have a conversation with you, bro. Appreciate you for
bro.
real.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
Everybody, tune in, subscribe to Fire in the Booth if you ain't already. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you.
Charlie, No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, Instagram, all that. Like, comment, and subscribe at nojumper.com if you want to support. Thank you, man.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.